have them do the pledge, we would like to recognize and honor Miss Robin Wilker. We have a certificate for her. Miss Wilker is a third grade teacher. She is an amazing candidate here on our campus to do all the things that we would ask an amazing teacher to do, and she does it with a smile. And anytime that you walk off her classroom, she is fully engaged with her class. So much so that she was acknowledged as a global leader for our school system. Mr. Matheson, you may be able to tell them a little bit more about what the interview looked like. We can say that your teacher, your third grade teacher, is going to go to the Netherlands.
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Go Global provides a scholarship opportunity for one teacher in Grand County to travel abroad on an educational field trip over the summer. And we had several teachers that applied for it. We conducted interviews, and Ms. Welton's interview was just absolutely outstanding. And she was chosen to be our representative for Grand County, and she'll be traveling to the Netherlands over the summer. So hopefully she'll bring some things back and report to us about all the good things that she learned. We can incorporate some things into our school. So
Absolutely.
Has she told you where the Netherlands is? Has she talked to you about
Which continent?
where is?
It's Europe. Next to Germany.
Good. Very good.
Yes. Well, we have a certificate here for you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, and we also have a copy of the newsletter that went out. Thank you for your education. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna let y'all lead the pledge, okay?
I pledge
Thanks, guys. Good job.
Good job.
Yes. Good.
y'all have a good day.
This is your third grade class?
Yes, this is my own. I have three.
Have a good day, guys.
Oh, okay.
Better behave. You better behave. You better behave too. You too, especially.
Keep going.
Y'all have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Wow.
All right, before we approve the agenda, I have two amendments. After Seymour, Mr. Henning is going to present the interlocal agreement. And the school tour, we are going to postpone that again, if it's all right with everybody, because there's other things that our board members are involved in. So with those two amendments, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Ms. Klein, anybody sign up for public comment? Do I have a motion, excuse me, to close public comment period?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda. It says here, any board member may request to move the consent agenda to closed session for further discussion if we have to do that. Does any board member have any questions? We've been presented in our packet. Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So, do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, did you get all that, Mrs. Klein? All right. Personnel report, Ms. Wiggins?
In your packet, you should have all the consent agenda, so staff members, for filing. I believe this particular one, there are only a couple of, approvals for passing for volunteers. I don't think that there are any major items on the consent agenda.
Okay, and field trips.
Yes. Also on the consent agenda are, this is our field trips.
Right.
I think that they are primarily centered on the high school this semester, or this
Yes, they are.
particular meeting.
I'm sorry, I should tell you, should have told you, that her copy's already voted for it, so, right, on there, so, okay, so we can get it.
Right. Okay, reports and discussion items, administrative updates, discussions, and questions. We've already read these. Are there any questions?
I had some questions later on the report we got, but I was just wanting to check the status of, the kids use a thing, well, I forget what it's called, to use the bathroom or whatever they put in for it. And how's that working?
Stuart.
Smart Masses?
Smart.
Yeah, well, I know for middle high, I think elementary didn't bring it on, but middle high. In the middle school, it's going well. We saw a downtick in hallway traffic during class, which is kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But not any major bathrooms, abandonment, for instance, happens to put in, we know that we didn't know at that time. We're still dealing with the basic issue, because, that's something that's hard to track down. If we, that the halos would go off and we see on it who's in there, we can check it. By the time we respond or whatever, it's hit or we like the nice problems, like, you know, things like that. But overall, I think middle school's been a big success.
I would echo the same for the high school. It's worked really well. One change that we're looking at, is implemented during our lunch as well. So that's something that over the last few days, our teachers have mentioned, they would like us to start using that for the hallway during lunch. So we're looking at adding that change in.
I got a couple other questions.
Go ahead.
How's the, the middle school? There were some things still lacking from the initial deal. We were going to see about going after, the bid, or not the bid, but their.
Baumgartner Electric, and yes, sir, and we've had some correspondence about that. I haven't lately, but I'm happy to check back in on those and update you. They have not completed that work, but they were supposed to do it.
And then the speaker system that we put in, is that, I hear that there's still some issues with that, like they're having to use the old and the new systems for announcements, is that right?
We have, in the high school, used the old MView. It just depends. The only issue we're having is that some of the classrooms lose their connection. Is that what's happening, Mr. Buchanan?
Yeah.
And so we just try to follow up if we get a call that they can hear that we made an announcement, so they're at least still hearing more than they did before, but we follow up and make another announcement if that's happened.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve then the administrative updates?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Don't have all those. So. All right, future homecoming report, Ms. Sullivan.
In your packet, I've included, kind of a proposal. Collectively, as like a district leadership team, we feel like over the last few years, homecoming has almost got to a point where it's just over the top. It's evolved, it's a little by little over the last few years, there's been more and more, and it has become, a financial burden for families. The parade has gotten, a lot bigger than it traditionally have been. The dresses have kind of evolved. And so the proposal that I have in there, is two parts. Is to limit that financial burden for families, but also to bring more good into homecoming. I love that we're recognizing our students and that they're getting some recognition on the court. But what we would like to add to that is a character component. I would like to have an application, so that we ensure that they're in good physical standing, that their grades are good, that they're, performing academically. But also that they have a community service component, some volunteer hours, and also that they would choose a local, charitable organization that they would conduct a fundraiser for. So what I would like to see happen is students that, understand that, these will be the new expectations, they would submit an application. I included that for you in your packet with my updates. And the application is no more than, I've read and understand the expectations. I know that I'm going to do some community service. I know that I'm going to have a fundraiser. And the parent also is aware of this commitment. And then, the application, once those are submitted, it would go, if there's more than 10 applications, we'll go to a student body vote, to select the 10 senior representatives. And then when the court is elected, they would be, required to complete their community service hours, hold their fundraising event, and then there would be a teacher panel, do a teacher recommendation for them. And all of those things together work in a formula to calculate who would be named, Miss Black Knight the Queen. There would still be a student body vote. That would still be weighed heavily in the formula. But those other components would also be represented as well. I did a couple of questions. I posed this to our student council. So I'm starting to get a few questions back. One of the questions we have is, can you just fundraise? Is that the determining factor? No, it's not. It will be a formula so that every piece is, weighed in. And there will be a cap to, if you complete a certain number of community service hours, you earn the most points in that category that you can. If you have raised a certain amount of money, you have earned the most points in that category that you can. So that it doesn't come to a who can get the most money donated and that's the winner. Okay, all of the pieces are weighted so that one category doesn't, outweigh another. Another concern, I put in the proposal, I would like to restrict the parade requirements. In the past few years, it actually started with COVID, with trailers, and it's kind of stuck. And so instead of just decorating a single vehicle, since COVID, families have been doing whole trailers, and that's just got bigger every year. So I'm planning to take that piece out, restrict back to a single vehicle, whether that be a Jeep or a truck or, whatever the representative choice would be. And the other concern, that some students have mentioned is, would like to limit the dresses and kind of move away from the really large ball gowns with the hoops and the crinolines and all the things. We would like to move back to, formal wear, but not at that level. I think that would alleviate some of the financial burden and hopefully alleviate some of the, discussion between court. They can have on this color, you can wear that color, we all have to wear the same style, we all have to match. The girls will be able to choose what dress fits their body type that makes them happy and it not be, mandated that they're wearing that big gown. We want to move away from those. So those are the changes that I'm proposing. You have questions?
Thank you, Vince. Very good. Can you give us, examples of, like this, what would be appropriate to satisfy this community service and also, the fundraising for local charities? Maybe an example or two of that.
So the community service could be, we've had students that volunteer at Grace Place or 5 Point Day, spend some time there serving meals would be an example. We've done in the past, the girls have, volunteered in the morning on the drop off line, They'll, volunteer open car doors. They did, like kind that way. Potentially maybe bring into classrooms, any type of organization, the thrift stores, things like that, they did volunteer some time and work. As far as fundraising, I actually discussed that with a student this morning. I feel like that could be, at whatever level that student wants to, it could be as big or as minimal as they would like to. But I would like for that fundraiser to be maybe for a local, it could be for a scholarship, it could be, for an organization of their choice, a domestic violence center, or, whatever they chose to donate their money to. It could be that they hold a fundraising event, or it could be that they hold a raffle, or, kind of whatever they choose. I would like to work with the elected board, to make sure that we have a plan to document whatever their choice is. And then kind of let that be very individual based. Um,
Any requirements for the escort?
I hadn't thought about exports, but in the past, they have done, they could do, some of the community service, things like that. They're not competing, for his black knight, so it wouldn't go into the formula, but I definitely like the idea of having them participate in some of the community service and those other pieces. I have had some students, concerned about the dress, but to me, that's a small issue. We're looking at trying to make it a bigger focus on character building, community service, and giving back to our community. That's our focus.
Sounds like a great idea. Excuse my throat.
When we first started talking about it, I got online and I reviewed, 15 different schools talking about plans, what they do. I reached out to some of my colleagues in other districts to see what they do and tried to, match some of their ideas with things that, we've kind of done and make a good plan that would work for us.
Through the years, it has kind of snowballed, and it's got to be a competition, which mom could spend the most money, or dad could spend the most money on dresses, and I absolutely see that, I see that. But, and then again, most of the time, I'll get to the question in a minute, students get it right, as far as elected, appointing who they want to represent. And they normally get it right. They spent, for the most part, they spent 12 years, 13 years with the kids, and they know who's fake, who's real, who's good, who's, and they get that. So what weight will student vote carry, or is that formula been developed yet, as far as point? I mean,
The student vote is the heaviest percentage. The other pieces are calculated into there. And again, they have caps with fundraising and service. And it doesn't become, we want to move away from it, but a financial burden and not become a financial competition. So I make sure that I want to have caps on those, and if they meet those criteria, then it's going to come down to student vote is the largest percentage. I don't think they're
so mom and dad can't write a check to over, if their child over in student vote, mom and dad can't write a check to overcome that. That's
Right.
fine. That's fine. And I texted you yesterday, I agree with this. But,
It's just become a little bit at a time. Every year it's become a little bit more. And it's such a hardship. And for a lot of families, it is a whole family effort to pull homecoming together. And it takes mom, dad, grandparents, and uncle. And then we have some students that's elected to just honor, and they don't have that support system, and they don't have that financial support. And for them, they're excited, but then it's a burden. And how can I do this? I don't have this support. And so that's what we want to move away from. When I have a kid at the program, and I make the homecoming report, but I don't know how I can pay for this, and my family you know, we're missing the mark.
Typical curve of spans happens on down.
The last couple of years, the dresses themselves are a few $1,000s. And I've heard, you know, few $1,000 mark on a parade, and it's
They can spend $5,000 easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you throw in hair and makeup and jewelry and shoes.
For a dress you wear one time.
for a high time. And I mean, those large, the reason that we want to move away from having the large ball gowns, if you go into a dress shop and you compare, there's lots of different styles, and you compare the price tags, that, you know, they're $2,000. And, you know, the pressure is that nobody wants less for their child. You know, if that's what everybody else is doing, then there's the pressure to do that. And we can wear very nice formal attire, for a lot less, and move away from the really big.
Well, I appreciate it. I think that's a very excellent idea. Excellent, for sure. Spur was on from last year. If you remember, homecoming was postponed because of Hurricane Florence. And once we finally had it, just in that day, you know, they was talking about it, and I got there, and there's $15,000-$20,000 in dresses on the football field, and people have lost everything they're to it. It's just their focus has not changed, and that's what's burned on. And I'm sorry, guys, been a fabulous job with this. Make it fair, and it didn't be that sorry. I agree, so things together. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay. Seymour, Mr. Mathis.
On Thursday, March the 27th, we interviewed 3 different companies that had submitted RFQs for the construction management at risk portion of the new elementary school. We interviewed Harper out of Asheville, H&M out of Asheville, and Hickory Construction Company from Hickory, North Carolina. And after those interviews, which Mr. Nelson was a part of, myself, Mr. Buchanan, maintenance department, and Jim Hinton from Hope Architecture, we came to a unanimous decision that we recommend that the board approve Hickory Construction Company out of Hickory, North Carolina as the C-barn for the new elementary school. And that needs to be an action item.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend you do the same thing we did with the code of architecture, that the board approve it as authority for board chair and superintendent to negotiate a contract and go ahead and enter into it. The contract, the construction manager is paid a lot like architect does. It's a percentage of the cost of the work. So we're gonna, all of that's gonna be in the targets. They'll both know they've got to fit within the budget because they're not there yet. So it's really just a matter of finding an acceptable percentage and going into a contract with everybody's company.
Do I have to say all that? So-
Yes, sir.
Verbatim.
Do I have a motion to approve the Seymour Hickory Construction Company to oversee our $42 million elementary school building?
So move.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? And I have a brochure here, can I just see it from Hickory scheme? Okay, Mr. Henning, the interlocal agreement.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I had mentioned this to the board last month, and I don't know where a month goes, but I just about had it done then, and then I just now finished the start thing and run back over to make sure it fits your project. I have had a couple of these now ever since the needs-based school funding was a source and available, where you're not really looking at the county for anything. They don't have a required match. And you're going to fit your project within the funds that you have available to you. But you nevertheless, you applied for those funds with the county partnership with you, that's a requirement of receiving that grant funding. You're going to continue to partner with them to the extent of they will make the application with you to draw the funding down and to have it paid over. And there's a few other reasons that even though you're going to run the show about this construction, and I want to really emphasize and make sure that nobody gets nothing in here is intended to put any pressure on the county to provide more funding than is available. So that's not the purpose here, but there's a few other reasons that if you'll just bear with me a couple of minutes, let me run through with what they are to enter into something like this. Number one, and I say this in the 1, 2, 3, 4th whereas clause that talks about the grant funding requires no matching funds, so we're not saying there's this is the necessitate fund from the county. The whereas above that talks about the board trust property that you acquired for this construction. And then skip 2 down from there that says, whereas the county is entitled to a refund from the state of North Carolina pursuant to, it gives a statutory reference to the tax code. North Carolina, and I don't get into why, and you can talk about it for 20 minutes, but suffice it to say, the state of North Carolina will give a local government a refund on state paid sales and use taxes, but not school boards. So you have to have some way, shape, or form that it is a county project. And for the vast majority of construction projects I've done in my career, there's a lot of county funding when they do it, if not the majority of it. They are going to take the property, use it as collateral. And because you have to, for a construction loan, a mortgage type loan that they're going to pay off over time. So we don't usually have to think through this to this extent. It just kind of naturally follows. They own the property, like subject to a lease we're getting from them. The lease says when this is all paid off, the school board gets the property back. And in the meanwhile, we're going to operate a school with them. Here, there isn't any necessity for a lien like that because there's no required match from the county, but they are the only ones who can get that sales tax refund. And when we're talking about an estimated $42 million, that's quite a chunk of change. We'll be in the millions, I'm certain. And so, you don't want to none of us want to let that go to Raleigh and stay there. So we need some way that we're looking with the county that they're going to hold at least enough title to the property and the project that the state recognizes and says, yeah, they can get the sales tax refund, even though they don't have any money that they're putting into it. So that's important that we do, and we can work through, and this is presume which way we're going to do it. There's 2 ways. Either we're going to end up using the war property to the county and get the lease back, and they will only need to hold it for the period of time it takes to get it constructed and make sure we get all of the sales tax reimbursement that they're due, the refund that they're due, so that we can make sure it all gets put into the project. And at which point it'll get needed back to the school board. Or you can actually lease them the property that's just going to be subleased right back to you to operate the school construction project and to operate a school once you got it built. And the state of North Carolina has said that's good enough for them. They'll consider it a county project for purposes of paying you back the sales tax. So we really have got to, one way or another, it's one of those 2 things. We've got to get that done because, again, we're not going to let north of $1 million just go to Raleigh and go for some other purpose. It needs to come back here to get it forward into the project. So that's one of the purposes of this. If you flip over to page 2 with me, the clause B there, the second one down, says you are completely responsible for designing the construction. That's a requirement of state law. That's a statute. Fees, that same effect, you're approving all the architectural design. That says you're going to watch the change orders and you're responsible for making sure that it all gets done within the funding that you've got available. Then in section 2 there is what the county's agreeing to. They're going to hold the property, we're a lease to it. Like I said, we don't know which one it's going to be yet, and transfer it back to you as soon as all the sales tax has been been, received. And on page 3, the 2B there, that's the section that has the county agree that they will apply for and put into this project, and we'll get right back to you the sales tax refunds. And then finally in June there, that's where they agree that as soon as either the later we've got all the taxes back, or you have a certificate of occupancy, you're probably going to see them be operating before we get all the paperwork done to get all the money that we can get back from Raleigh back in our hands. That's when they're agreeing they'll apply for it. So we need to propose this to them. I think if they haven't seen, county hasn't seen any of this, we need to start that conversation right now, because at least by the time we start to really pay for materials, you've got to have this in place so that we can start keeping track of sales tax. Happy to answer any questions. You don't have to approve this today. We do need to start having that conversation with the county and have an agreed to document before you really swing any hammers with the big. Any questions about all that? I know that's the whole bunch. I just gave this to you, so we're not under that big rush. When I would put by maybe or maybe we're looking at something to bring.
Now,
Basically, they want this county not safe.
is this something you and the county attorney will work back and forth and
Yes, sir.
board chairs will look further down the detail?
Yes, sir. And it's a very common feature. Basically, every construction project has got some way we're agreeing with the county about how to do these things. Because like I said, if nothing else, we all want that sales tax.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Yes, sir.
That is a lot to absorb.
Yes.
Do we need to do anything else?
No, he said we don't have to approve it today.
I would feel bad asking you to really approve it, just not. But, so please do read through it, but I would represent to you, it's the standard way we do this. You know, I'm going to begin to work with the county attorney on getting something that both boards.
So you will go ahead and start working on it.
Yes.
Okay. Does Mr. Matheson or Mr. Moody, are they involved?
Well, they may need to, I mean, one to know what it is, to have discussions with the county and sort of their counterparts with, what this is. Like I said, I have taken a lot of effort here to make sure it doesn't comply. We're required of anything from the county other than help us draw down the money to get the construction done, help us apply, you'll apply for the sales tax reimbursement. You're the only one to do it. And put that money back into the project. And other than that, we're really not asking them to do anything.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Budget amendments, Nikki, Ms. Gibbs, we've got your
Yeah.
budget amendments.
Yeah, there's just one budget amendment this time, as a result of all the refunds that we received and are now spending on the, Main Street Cafe, is that the name of it, Robert? Main Street Cafe.
It's not what I call it.
That project, yeah.
Yeah, the project.
Yes, the money we received for that, so we just had a budget amendment for those funds. That needs to-
Any questions? Thank you. Budget update, Mr. Moody.
Just make sure the transparency becomes a money spaces. It's same executive order, this man in Department of Education. We're still doing limbo right now because, as I said before, there's basically 3 pots of money. But we have federal, state, and local money space. Federal's most restrictive. Once we use it, then we have to go to local. We use state. Again, have to go to local. So what happens is we use all the federal, all the state that we can, which runs out because of underfunding and unfunded mandates. Therefore, we have to go to our local funds to make it, which is comprised of basically the biggest 3 things. Impact aid, small schools money, and the county budget. And then we hope we can bounce out the end of the years. You know, at the end of this year, we started with $7,000 in the hole. So it's about paycheck to paycheck. So the impact aid part, which is very crucial, is what we get from the federal government because of so much federal land that is owned So that's the one in question right now. We don't think it's gonna get touched. It should be fine. At the same time, we thought, timber receipts was gonna be fine too, and we found out back in December that they didn't vote to approve that, and that's $185,000. Impact aids, what, how many millions is impact aid, you're not talking about? It's, close to $1 million or so.
Yeah, the last couple of years, it's been a little over a million.
Small schools money, which again, people understand, if you look at schools like a business, the bigger the schools, the more money they generate. So there's 30 schools that are considered small schools that just don't get the funding because of unfunded mandates. One of them is the free lunch program. It's free to kids, but not to us. That's why we've had to bail them out $500,000, and it's not it's our fault. It's just they don't give us enough money. So if they cut that out, then we're sort of foul. I did go to Raleigh a few weeks ago, and they said several superintendents to petition for more small schools money because it's not had an increase in 18 years. So just to let you know, we're still in limbo, and we're hoping that at least everything might stay the same. We're hoping there might be a little bit of an increase there or in the new budget. But if not, if that impact aid money is effective, we're hurting. And it's a point where, I mean, we rely on it to keep schools open. So just want to let you know that. So if you want to, what she's talking about this little thing we're doing up here, I'm not putting any money in that. We're trying to conserve as much money as we can. And that's one reason we got our sales tax money from the county, which has been beneficial. We could use this of our local funds to save it because we don't know what's going to happen. So just to give you an update, we're going to keep an eye on it, monitor it. Right now, it seems to be fine, but we don't know where it's going to go. Like I said, I know we get an executive order. I think it takes Congress to dismantle it completely. So we'll see how it affects us. And I understand the concept of putting that money towards the states. But the problem there is our state focuses most of its money on charter schools. So, and once they do that, that takes money from us that we need. So there's that concern. I just want you to know that. And we're trying to be as fiscal responsible as we can with the taxpayers' money. We did ask for also increase from the county. We asked a 7.5% increase. And they said they don't have the funds to do that. We did one last year or this year. Talked to Megan, and she said that we had something to work out, but we have something more next year. So that's at least that's going to remain the same too. But, so we're sure we should remain the same.
Mr. Henning, board policy.
Mr. Nelson, can we approve the budget of this different?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendments? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Sorry, I forgot.
Okay.
Now, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, there's something we'll talk about in closed session briefly. There is, but I do want to follow up on what Mr. Moody said that in terms of funding, we have been working, it's kind of started with our lead affected clients to make sure that everybody knows the federal requirements for grant funding expenditures, how to get the money, how to bid for it, how to encumber it, how to spend it. Because there's a bunch of hoops to jump through to do that. And it could well be that if that next step from the federal Department of Education is being taken apart, if nothing else, they should not be able to just decide that the funding stops. And so it's got to come down somehow one way, and this is kind of what Mr. Moody's talking about. It might look like it's a big block grant that the state gets, and then it's now divvied out however we want to. Our assumption is it's still going to have all of those federal requirements behind it. So I don't have that for you today, but we'll follow up next month and make sure we're ready if that is the way that it goes. But it is, as he said, it's very up in the air right now. The rest of the board policy stuff we'll talk about in the closed session briefly.
All right, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
And that will need to cite GS 143-311A1 about personnel, which is confidential pursuant to GS 115C-383.1 under subsections A3 for attorney-client privilege and under subsection A5 concerning acquisition of your file. and showing on the roads.
All right, do I have a motion to go into closed session? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we are now in closed session.